Hannah comes with the white sleeves, and they saw that the person who was lying there. He was very much wounded, and but they went to both of them first went there. He is wounded, Sadar exclaimed. He made haste to the man, who lay motionlessly, his face in the sand, an old cap stuck to his head, soaked with the sea water. He was in the wet rags of garments. Sadar stopped Hannah at his side and turned the man's head. He saw the face. A white man, Hannah whispered. So what happened when they both moved to that man? Sadao just saw him and exclaimed that he was wounded. He was motionless because he was unconscious at that time. Sadao just take out his head that was soaked with the sea water and just stuck with his head. Then he was in the rag of garments. Sadao Hannah stopped the Hannah's hand and he turned his face. And when they turned his face, they saw that he is a white man. Hannah whispered slowly. White man means that he was an American. Yes, it was a white man. A wet cap fell away, and there was his wet yellow hair, long as though for many weeks he had not been cut, and upon his young and tortured face was a rough yellow beard. He was unconscious and knew nothing that they did for him. So what happened? He said that he was unconscious. Here the writer described about the that American. He was that he is a white person. He has wore the white red cap. He has yellow hairs that was not cut from the long time, and whatever the sign on his face is looking like it was shows that he was tortured very much at that time. He had a yellow beard, and then he was nothing know about that he was conscious because now Sadhao remembered the wounded, and with his expert fingers he began to search for it. Blood flowed fleshly his touch. On the right side of his lower back, Sadao saw that a gun wound had been reopened. The flesh was blackened and powered. Something not many days ago, the man had been shot and had not been tended. It was a bad chance that the rocks had struck the wound. So the Sadao was just he was expert in surgery and he was scientist also. So he was just check his body by his hand, and he found that there is a gun wound near at the back end of the his that white man, and because of the rocks he was stuck and he have many of the wounds on his body. Oh, how he is bleeding, Hannah whispered, again in a solemn voice. The mist screened them now completely, and at this time of the day, no one came by. The fishermen had gone home, and even the chance benchcombers would have considered the day at the end. What shall we do with this man? Sadao muttered, but his trained hand seems of their own will to be doing what they could be snatch the fearful bleeding. So what happened? He was bleeding. They know, both of them know, they both are doctors. They are no Hannah is not a doctor. She was completing her nurse course. So they thought about, actually the writer described about the atmosphere that no one is coming at that beach, so no one know about that. Now the Sadao muttered, what I have to do with this man? Shall I have to take him inside, or what I have to do? He was in the dilemma because he is a doctor. So first of all, he was thinking about his patient who was wounded at that time. So he was thinking about that, and he was very much patriot also. So he was that person was American. So how can he help? At that time he was in confusion stage, or you can say he was in dilemma. What I have to do? The wound with the sea moss and strewed the beach. The man moaned with the pain in his stupor. but he did not awaken. The best thing that we would uh, do would be put him back in the sea. Sadao said, answering himself. So what they have to think, we have to again put him in the sea. Whatever happened, we have not to see it. But he's a doctor, he's a conscious about that. Now that the bleeding was stopped for a moment, he stood up and dusted the sand from his hand. Yes, undoubtedly, that would be the best, Hannah said steadily. But she continued to stare down the motionless man. What happened, Hannah is just agreeing with the Sadao because at that time the rules and regulations are very hard. If the Sadao was taking him inside his home, so anything will happen. So that is why, and he was enemy, so he will do also something. So that is why they are very much in conscious in confusion stage. So both are just saying that okay, we will put him again in the sea, but both of them are not doing that thing. If we sheltered a white man in our house, we should be arrested, and if we turn him over the prisoner, he would be certainly Sadao said. So both the things, both the situations Sadao described to himself also and want to describe to the Hana also. The kindest thing would be to put him back into the sea, Hana said, but neither of them moved. They were staring by the curious repulsion upon their enter finger. So what they are doing, they both are thinking about that if we take him inside the home, that is wrong. If we put him again in the sea, that is also wrong. If we gave him to the police, that is also wrong. So, but they are thinking about it, but they are not ready to put him again in the sea. What is he? Hannah whispered. There is nothing about him that looks American, Sadao said. He took up the battered caps. Yes, they're almost gone. Was the faint lettering. The sailor, he said, from an American warship. He spelled it out, U.S. Navy. The man was prisoner of war. So the writer said that. Here the Sadao said that he was from the U.S. Navy, and maybe he was the prisoner of war at that time, and he escaped from there. And after then he was just wounded. That is happened. This is the situation. Maybe he has escaped. Hannah cried softly, and that is why he is wounded in the back. Sadao agreed. Yes, Sadao is also agree with the Hannah what the Hannah said. They hesitated, looking for each other. Then Hannah said, which resolution? Means they are saying to each other, but they are not taking any decision what we have to do. Come, are we able to put him back into the sea? If I am able, are you? Sadao asked. So Hannah said, okay, can we send him, put him back again to the sea? Sadao said, okay, if you are ready, then I will also. No, Hannah said, but if you can do it alone. So Hannah said, no, I am not touching him. You will put him again back into the sea. Sadao hesitated again, and strange thing is, he said that if the man were whole, I could turn him over to the police without difficulty. I care nothing for him. He is my enemy. All Americans are my enemy, and he is the only common fellow. Yes, you see how foolish his face is. But since he is wounded, you also cannot throw him back to the sea. Hannah said, then there is only one thing to do. We must carry him into the house. But the servants, Sadao inquired, what happened? They both are not agreed. Sadao said, if he was not in the conscious situation, definitely I will give him to the police back. I feel no difficulty, but he was unconscious and wounded. In this condition, if I send him somewhere, he will be died, and that is very wrong, as my profession not allowed in me. Hannah also wants to say though, so you don't want to send him back to the sea. Yes, we would. So shall we take him to inside the home? So Sadao said, if we take him inside the home, what will the servants will do? What will they say? Because the four servants are there, and maybe they will just do the objection if they are giving any uh, place to the enemy. We must simply tell them that we intend to give him to the police. As indeed, we must, Sadao, we must think of the children and our position. It would endanger all of us if we did not give this man over the prisoner of war. So the Sadao said the whole situation to the Hana that if we will give the shelter to this enemy in our house, then maybe we will face many problems in our family. Certainly, Sadao agreed. I would not think of doing anything else. So I don't want to do anything else. I want to send him back to the sea.